You are looking live at the best football show. I am Brian Baldinger at Baldy NFL. This is a free Odyssey download here. We're here for the next half hour talking week 2, looking back at week 1. You can download your free Odyssey app, like it, subscribe to it, tell your friends about it. We're trying to grow this. We need your help doing it. I'm glad you're tuning in. I'm here to take all your questions, any questions you have about your team, about a player, about a scheme, you name it. I'm here to answer it. I've watched just about everything from week 1, broken a lot of it down throughout social media, on Twitter at Baldy NFL, on Instagram at Baldy NFL, on YouTube, around the dial of social media. But we're here, multiple times a week. I try to just basically, I'm here in my office at NFL Films in beautiful Mount Laurel, New Jersey. I get a great opportunity to really study all these games. I really started, last Friday in Brazil, breaking down the Kansas City-Baltimore game, and then I had a chance to watch a little bit of the Eagles in Green Bay. I was there live in Brazil. So I've seen a lot. I was in Indianapolis on Sunday to watch Anthony Richardson and the Colts against C.J. Stroud and Joe Mixon and Stephon Diggs and that juggernaut of a team. But we're looking ahead here to week 2 right now. And it really kicks off tonight. I mean, we're now into this rhythm, okay? It took us a while. We played last Thursday and Friday and Sunday and Monday, and it was quite entertaining. But now we're into a rhythm of Thursday night, Sunday, Monday night here. And I think we're all enjoying the rhythm that the football season has. And so when I look ahead to tonight's game, both teams had to come from behind very similarly. Last week, Buffalo fell behind to Arizona. Arizona scored the first 3 times they had the ball. They jumped out to a 17-3 lead. And then Buffalo kind of hung on at the end to win that game 34-28. We saw our first kickoff return for a touchdown by DJ Dallas of Arizona. Pretty impressive. Most teams have just kind of settled for kicking the ball out of the end zone and the offense starting at the 30. I think it's been kind of a big nothing burger except for DJ. In Miami, they fell behind to Jacksonville, and we're a very similar situation. And there are a lot of things. So there's very similar outcomes. Buffalo and Miami both coming from behind to win at home. This game is in Miami tonight, so Buffalo's got to travel in a short week. That's never easy to do for any of these teams. But once you get between the white stripes, it's even Steven. Josh Allen has owned the Miami Dolphins. In 6 years, he's lost to them twice. And they've won playoff games. So, but that's in the history. A lot has happened in both franchises over the course of those 6 years. I would say this. I know Raheem Mostert is out. Maybe Devon Achane is out. He's a game-time decision. That means Jeffrey Wilson Jr. and maybe a rookie, Jalen Wright. I think he was a 3rd-round pick out of Tennessee. I watched him in preseason. He's a perfect fit for Mike McDaniel offense. And if he goes off tonight or has any kind of game or he gets carries and he does well, it won't surprise me. He is a home run hitter. Elite speed. Showed the same promise at Tennessee. Last week, though, they could not run the ball against Jacksonville. They were just stout. And Tua had to bring him from behind. And he was brilliant, just brilliant. Threw for almost 400 yards. The touchdown to Tyreek Hill capped off a swing in the game where Jacksonville is driving late 3rd quarter. They're up 17-7. They're up 17-7 late 3rd quarter. And they're going in to score to make it 24-7. And Javon Holland, one of my favorite players in this league, came and stripped the ball, and they recovered it. And on the next play, Tua hit Tyreek Hill with an 80-yard bomb. And it went from a swing of potentially 24-7 to 17-14. The whole game changed. And then the defense, led by Jalen Phillips, and it's unbelievable. I mean, you think about last year on Black Friday, that game in Miami, Jets in Miami, Black Friday, day after Thanksgiving, and he tears his Achilles. And here he is, week 1, closing out the game. 3rd and 10. Trevor Lawrence drops back. They got a chance here. In a tie game, 17-17, got a tie. And Jalen Phillips beats the right tackle and takes down Trevor Lawrence for a sack, his first sack of the season. And he gets the ball back to 2, and he goes down and gets him in position to kick the game-winning field goal. Buffalo, similarly, it was great to see Von Miller, really healthy. He did the same thing. He helped, close that game out. Arizona was down 31-28 and 34-28. They had 2 chances to go down and score and win that game. 2. Von Miller had 1 sack, and then they defended him on 4 downs. But, Kyler Murray had the ball 1st and 10 at the 32-yard line of Buffalo with a minute to go and timeouts in his pocket, and they couldn't finish Buffalo off. So these 2 teams know each other. Buffalo plays the zone. I've seen them defend this Miami offense and Mike McDaniel. I see them where they can't get one ball over their head. Not one. The way we saw last week to Waddle and to Tyreek Hill. They just are an expanding zone and keep everything in front of them. And sometimes they make you settle for the underneath throws. But Josh Allen has owned Miami because they can't seem to tackle. When he does run around and extend plays, he's brilliant. He was brilliant last week, and minus Diggs, and the guys aren't there. Keon Coleman caught a couple passes. Khalil Shakir caught a touchdown, and they've got a great back in James Cook, who's from Miami. Him and his brother Dalvin went to Miami Central. He's going back home. I'm just telling you, I know some of these kids. I work out with some of these guys. I see them down in South Florida. I have a house in Fort Lauderdale. I see these guys working out. It is a big deal. I remember when Emmitt Smith, when he was in the heyday of his Cowboys, went to Tampa to play a game. And it was a big deal to Emmitt coming back to the state of Florida. Football's in their blood. They love football in the state of Florida at every level. You get these kids coming back to Florida and to play in front of some hometown fans and family and stuff like that. They want to put a show on. So expect James Cook, who had a good game week 1 against Arizona. Expect James Cook to look pretty good tonight. A couple things. Calais Campbell is 38 years old. He's starting at defensive tackle for Miami. He has been hinting at retirement for 4 years. He shouldn't hint at it anymore. He was awesome last week against Jacksonville. Miami has a lot of star players on defense. I don't know if they're a great defense. They got a new defensive coordinator, Anthony Weaver, taking over for Vic Fangio. But you look at Jalen Ramsey, highest paid corner, Jalen Phillips, Calais Campbell, David Long Jr., Javon Holland. They've got some great players, and they made some great plays, all of them. That's kind of their team. They're a star-studded team. When their stars rise, they win games. But it's hard. You saw the graphic here of Josh Allen against Miami in prime time. He's undefeated. I remember Josh Allen as a rookie running through Miami's defense is if it was flag football, Miami wouldn't have ripped the flag off Josh. They couldn't tackle him. They couldn't catch him. He ran away from him. Last week he was phenomenal. He trucked 3 guys in Arizona at the goal line to score a touchdown. He extended plays. He was Josh Allen. He looked like he was having a great time. The offensive line is very good for Buffalo. I think it's improved. They've gotten bigger inside, and so Connor McGovern at left guard, at center, and David Edwards at left guard, and Deion Dawkins is just an absolute force the way that he plays. You got Osiris Torrance in there. He was a University of Florida kid. He's coming back, to play in Miami. So I think it's going to be a great way to kick off Thursday night football and to kick off the season here in week 2. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking at Andrew Vincent Brown. What team will make the biggest improvement from week 1 to week 2? That's a good question. The Giants, you could take a look at this from a couple different approaches. The Giants, could they play any worse? They were dreadful on every Defensively, off they were terrible. Everything was bad. I thought the coaching wasn't particularly crisp. I thought the offensive line was average to poor. Daniel Jones was awful. They dropped passes defensively. You got Thibodeau and Brian Burns, and like they couldn't get near Sam Darnold. The Giants could make the biggest improvement. They go to Washington, division game. Washington was they were, look, they got blown out by Tampa, but Jaden Daniels, he was impressive. He was the best rookie quarterback by far. He ran for 88 yards. Like 16 runs is too many, but I mean, can you blame him? I mean, Todd Bowles sent every blitz he had at him. He had a number of free hitters. I mean, he was forced to run a bunch. I think the Giants could make a big jump. Cleveland was awful. Obviously the offense was awful. Their defense was still pretty good. They gave up a lot of points, but they played pretty tough. I mean, Dallas had a great game plan to combat Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith. Cleveland could make a big jump. The Raiders could too. I mean, the Raiders' offense line was awful. I know they didn't really address it, and they lost to Luminar and Van Roten, starters on the right side last year, and they didn't really address it. I didn't think defensively, like Max played hard, and he got to the quarterback and he affected the quarterback, but they didn't force the Chargers in any kind of a mistake. They let a couple of big runs go. J.K. Dobbins had a bunch of big runs against them. He got a game ball for it. I would say the Raiders have a chance to jump up and make a big improvement. Carolina was the worst team in the league by far, and New Orleans put them away. I don't know that Carolina is going to be a competitive team. I really don't. It looked bad. The first pass is intercepted by Bryce Young. I mean, I don't know what Deontay Johnson was doing on the play. It looked like he gave up on it. I'm not sure. Bryce was throwing it to a spot in the middle of the field, and the receiver didn't go get it. So I'm not here to put blame on either player. I'm just saying that's what it looked like on film. Those teams could all make a big jump. Cowboys defense has to be 1 or 2 overall. Hey, look, to all you Cowboy fans out there, one of the, I would say 3 best performances on offense or defense or any phase of the game I saw all weekend was Dallas's defense. Like DeMarvion Overshawn, their second-year inside linebacker, that guy's a blur. Kalen Carson, their 5th-round pick out of Wake Forest at left corner, where's number 21? Got a towel hanging off of his slack and his pants. I mean, look, there's only one Deion Sanders ever played this game, but he kind of reminds you of prime time. Like the guy, the first pass in his area, he went for the pick. Like he didn't get it, but he went for it. Like aggressive, played the ball in the air. His break on the ball was elite. Like you look at the speed, and Tank Lawrence played the best game I've seen him play in years. And you couple that with Donovan Wilson and Trayvon getting back at corner, and just watching Kendricks play. They look like they got linebackers, they got speed. Maybe they got a young corner. Like they lost Deron Bland, who had 10 receptions and 5 touchdowns last year. That's a lot to overcome. But Kalen Carson played. I mean, Dallas could draft. It looked like, Dak had a good connection with CD after a couple of days. I would say that Dallas's defense is legit. Now, we got to see a team that really wants to try to run the ball. I mean, Cleveland dropped back 51 times. Like Deshaun Watson got hit 17 times by that defense. He was sacked 6. Michael led the charge, but, Tank Lawrence was really good. They were all good. But Dallas was impressive. That defense, like they were so much faster than anything Cleveland was doing. In fact, they made everybody look slow in Cleveland. So is Zach Frazier a future Pro Bowler? Zach Frazier was amazing. Honestly, I watched that game and I couldn't take my eyes off number 54, the rookie center out of West Virginia. He was a state wrestling champion. All right. I think either 3-time or 4-time state wrestling champion. He turned every play into a wrestling match. Like he just put one guy, Grady Jarrett, Daquan Graham, Eddie Goldman, like he put every guy on their back. He pinned them all day long. In fact, I think he had more knockdowns than the Steelers scored points. Obviously, the field goal kicker was awesome. I think what he kicked 6 of them. But he had close to 18 knockdowns. Close. Is he a future? Like the one thing I know, in fact, I made a video of Zach Frazier. You want to go see it? It's out there on Twitter and it's on Instagram. I had almost 1 million people watch it already in a day on Twitter. They have probably the best litany of centers over the last 50 years of any team in this game. And I'm not shortchanging any other team that's had great centers. But Mike Webster started the process. In fact, I put it out there going, my brother played with Mike Webster, so I got to know Webby a little bit through my brother. And I actually put it out there that Mike Webster would be proud of this rookie center. And sure enough, one of Mike Webster's kids responded to me going, yes, my dad would really enjoy watching him play. They're trying to rebuild this offensive line, and Sam Alo's out for a few weeks with a shoulder thing, and Fontano wasn't out there. It's gonna take a while. Jaylen Warren needs to get some reps back, but they're gonna be able to run the ball. But that was, look, Justin Fields had a great throw to George Pickens for like 40 yards. Typical Pickens catch, like toe tap, stretching out for the ball, the whole thing. Acrobatic as hell. But the best part of the whole offense all day long was watching Zach Frazier play. You literally couldn't take your eyes off him. And you could just tell he's nasty. Like he's just pushing guys at the end of the play and knocking them down. And then as soon as they get up, he knocks them down again. He did that. There was a bunch of rookie linemen that played well. What do you think about Mike Macdonald, his scheme he's planting in Seattle? Well, look, Seattle was great. Seattle's defense, Boye Mafe, Byron Murphy, Big Cat Williams, Devin Witherspoon. Julian Love was probably the best safety in football last week against Denver. I mean, look, Bo Nix is a rookie. I get it. Okay, he didn't throw for 100 yards. He couldn't get the ball down the field to Cortland Sutton. He's thrown it to Devon Ville, a 7th-round pick. Like, that's where most of the completions went. Couple things. First of all, Mike Macdonald's a great coach. I mean, he's done this as a linebacker coach in Baltimore. He did it as a defensive coordinator at Michigan. He did it as a defensive coordinator in Baltimore, okay, where last year they led the league in fewest points, sacks, and takeaways. So they get 2 interceptions to start, the season. It looks like, it looks like the secondary is fixed right now. When I look at Tariq Woolen, he had an interception. His speed, blinding speed that we all saw his rookie season when he tied for the league lead with 6 interceptions. He picked off one for Bo Nix, and Bo Nix has never seen any defensive back in his life run that fast and chase down that ball. He was behind the receiver. Once the ball left Bo Nix's hands, like that burst to the ball is tough. They rob the middle of the field. It's just tough. Like what they do is they really don't reveal what they're doing until the snap. They disguise very well. They use a lot of different fronts. Okay, they change it up. You don't know. They stem late. They do a lot of things that disrupt an offense. And Denver had a rough time running the ball. Their offensive line didn't play particularly well. A lot of this is what Mike Macdonald does. And so Geno had the long touchdown run. They gave up a couple safeties, but I thought Mike Macdonald in his first game, where you're implementing a new system, you're getting guys to trust it, to communicate. It looked to me, without listening to any wires or anything, it looked to me like Julian Love was completely in charge of the defense. I mean, it looked like the checks, the audibles, getting guys lined up. It looked like it went through Julian back there, who's a smart guy. I mean, he forced a fumble on the first carry by Esteme, the rookie running back out of Notre Dame. It was Golden Dome against Golden Dome, bashing into each other. Esteme tried to jump over the safety, and the ball got knocked out by Julian Love. They didn't recover it, but early returns against the rookie quarterback and, an offense without a lot of firepower in Denver. It was a very, very good start. Let's see, Baldy, from Jack. Can you get into what you saw from the Niners on Monday night and why they had so many? All right, so I spent yesterday up at the Jets. I was up in Florham Park doing, some podcast and breaking some plays down for them. And, I don't think anybody's panicking with the Jets, but what caught me off guard was two things. Because I thought the Jets would play much better than they did. What caught me off guard was Breece Hall had 10 carries in the first half for 25 yards. The 49ers completely shut down the Jets rushing attack. Completely. And that surprised me because I thought they were going to be better up front. But Malik Collins and Javon Hargrave were awesome inside. And if you don't block Fred Warner, he might make every tackle like he started the game, including knocking the ball out of Breece Hall's hands on the fourth play of the game. That surprised me. Aaron Rodgers was good, but, if you're not sustaining offense, they had 5 of their 6 drives in the first half. They didn't get a first down. So if you're not getting first down, sustaining offense, you're never getting into your playbook. You're never getting into your game plan. You're always just sort of resetting, looking for that drive starter. Next thing you know, you've got 1 touchdown on the board. You're into the third quarter, and the 49ers are rolling. And they're rolling because their offensive line had the Jets linebackers, C.J. Mosley and Quincy Williams, just catching blocks. Like, that's not how those guys play. Nobody attacked the line of scrimmage. I didn't understand that, but they didn't play well up front either. I thought the Jets' defensive line would play better than they did. They got pushed around pretty good. That Dominic Pooney at right guard looked like a Pro Bowl guard against the Jets. It's clear, though, and this is, I'm curious what happens. It's clear they need a third rusher. Last year they had Bryce Huff to go with Jermaine Johnson, to go with Quinnen Williams, and sometimes a Will McDonald. But, they had John Franklin Myers. They had Hassan Reddick last year to go with Jermaine, to go with Quinnen. They don't have that right now. They got Solly Thomas as a rotational guy and Javon Kinlaw, but they need a third rusher bad. And I think that's going to, unless they get this thing resolved, and I don't know that's going to happen. I think they're not going to be quite the defense that we thought they might be this year. Defense couldn't get. I mean, look, the 49ers scored 8 straight times in a row. They converted third downs. Jordan Mason ran for 147 yards in his first NFL start. They couldn't get off the field. And so they couldn't take the ball away. They never came close to taking the ball away. They didn't get a ball on the ground. They didn't get a hand on the ball. It was awful. It was awful. That's not what anybody tell. They have a chance to bounce back this week against Tennessee, but it's on the road. And Tennessee played very well, both sides of the ball, against Chicago and should have won the game. They threw a pick 6 on a stupid play by Will Levis. Happens. In a punt block for a touchdown. Otherwise Tennessee's 1-0. But they got a lot of good young talent there. So the Jets, they got to rebound. And it starts, honestly, as much as we all want to talk about Aaron, and he made a number of good throws to Lazard and to Garrett Wilson. It starts with Breece Hall is a great player, and he never got going the other night. They did not move the line of scrimmage. And some of it just really technically, the communication up front wasn't good in the run game. One guy is going up to linebacker. The other guy thinks that he's staying on the down man. And he's going up, and here comes Malik Collins blowing a play up. That can't happen. It just can't happen. So they've got to tighten things up front. And I think if they get – and it's going to be tough because Tennessee is going to put Jeffrey Simmons, Sebastian Joseph Day, and this rookie, who was the best rookie defensive lineman I saw in the league, Tafondre Sweat. I nicknamed him T-Pain. He was unblockable against the Bears. He's 300, I don't know, 350, 360, I have no idea. He's big, huge. and he was at Texas. But the thing that he has, he's got endurance. Like he can stay on the field. He played a lot of snaps. He was very, very impressive. So I think that the Jets have their work cut out for them. Like Tennessee played pretty well. They have a guy in L'Jarius Sneed that if they want to say, okay, let's put L'Jarius on Lazard and take Lazard out of the game because L'Jarius Sneed's capable of doing that. And then wherever Garrett Wilson goes, we'll double team him. And we'll make Aaron go someplace else with the ball. I mean, I won't be surprised if that's how Tennessee plays this. And that's why the run game is going to be so critical and important. Because really the only three guys that Aaron threw to the whole night was to Brees and Lazard and to Garrett Wilson. Is Xavier McKinney in for a big season? Look, Xavier McKinney he's a great player. The Giants, I've talked about Julian Love, and now you're bringing up Xavier McKinney. I mean, both those guys were Giants. And why they both aren't Giants, because they both played 2 years ago together. Why they both aren't still Giants is beyond me. They're both great players. Xavier McKinney got his interception last week down in Brazil. He's a perfect fit for this Green Bay defense, led by the new defense coordinator Hafley. He wants to rob the middle of the field. They were in a Tampa 2 look where the middle linebacker ran with the number 3 receiver of the Eagles, Devontae Smith, and it's basically a 3 deep coverage. The safeties widen out to the numbers. They get with the middle linebacker or the whole player is going to open up to the number 3 and run with them. And Jalen Hurts tried to fit it in there. I didn't think Devontae Smith ran a particularly strong route against the middle linebacker, and Xavier showed unbelievable range coming over there and making that interception. It's going to be tough for Green Bay without Jordan Love now. I mean, they got a great young core of receivers and talent, and I don't know that Malik Willis as little as he's played and as short a time as he's been there, that they're going to be able to score a whole lot of points right now. I mean, I feel bad for Green Bay, but defensively, Xavier McKinney and 7 former number 1 draft picks have got to hold it together while Jordan mends and rehabilitates and gets that MCL back to 100% or close to it anyways. So rookie offensive lineman, there's a bunch of them that caught my eye. This Taliesin Fuaga in New Orleans was as good as there was. It's early, okay, and it was Carolina, but he went up against Derek Brown. He went up against Ashawn Robinson, quality defensive lineman. He walked them all off the ball. His power is, it's almost unmatched in this business to be able to run block like that. He was a force, and New Orleans played very well because of him. They're going to be able to run the ball. Kamara, Williams, Taysom, they're going to be able to run the ball, and a lot of the runs are going to go right behind Fuaga. He was good. J.C. Latham was okay. He's a very good run blocker. I mean, he's going to have a little trouble on the edge against some elite players, but he was good. Zach Frazier was awesome. The 2 rookie offensive linemen in New England were outstanding. Leighton Robinson, Caden Wallace. I think that was their 4th and 3rd round pick. That was a big part of Ramondre Stevenson having success against Cincinnati, all the way to the very end when they just basically ran a 4-minute drill and kneeled with the ball in their hands and didn't give it back to Joe Burrow. I mean, they were all really, really good. Really good. I mentioned Tafondre Sweat, defensive lineman, was very, very good. He really showed up. And Dominic Pooney. Dominic Pooney in San Francisco he looks like a Pro Bowl right guard. Honestly, like I've watched him over 100 snaps in preseason, every snap against the Jets. I haven't seen him have a bad play yet. In fact, the Jets ran a scheme on Monday night where they put a linebacker over the center. They lined up an end on the right tackle, and they put their best defensive player, Quinnen Williams, to get a one-on-one against Dominic Pooney. And Quinnen couldn't beat him. And that's rare. I mean, you give Quinnen a one-on-one against most linemen in this league, and he usually wins. And Dominic Pooney he gave up a little bit of ground like you have to, and then he dropped his anchor, and he stopped the charge of Quinton Williams. Like that one play was about as impressive as it gets. Those guys, and then look, you got to look at Dallas, and Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe going into Cleveland against that front, and Myles Garrett. Myles had the one play, sack fumble. Okay, he gave up one, but I thought the game plan was really, really good by Mike McCarthy to help those guys out. And look, they didn't lose the game for them. They didn't have bad penalties or bad plays. They're only going to get better. They drafted two good players, and so maybe it's good that Tyler got to see the league's best in Myles Garrett out there. Now I'm not saying TJ or Nick or Max Crosby. They're all great players. Khalil Mack. There's so many, but you see Myles Garrett week one. That's a challenge, and they let him go one-on-one with them. It wasn't like they protected him. So I think those guys kind of stood out. All right, everybody. Look, we're going to do this at least once a week, this live feed on the Best Football Show. Thanks a lot for joining me here today. A lot of fun joining you and telling you what I thought. I enjoy answering your questions as well. Please go to your Odyssey app, download it. It's all for free. Like it, subscribe to it. We want to grow this audience here. Going live at least once a week is good. Almost daily with what I see in the film room here. Got my clicker in my hand right here. Spent probably somewhere around 40 hours so far, 50 hours, just watching these games, studying it. So it's all fresh in my head, and I'm here to tell you all about it. Thanks for joining me, and look forward to talking to you real soon. Enjoy week 2, everybody.